Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. My name is Brittnie Bassant, President and CEO of Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, and want to give a huge shout out to our coffee sponsor, Maman, for generously providing coffee for this series. Of course, they've got locations all throughout the county, but we love their South Beach location in Sunset Harbor. And today I am thrilled to welcome my guest for today, Mr. Kobi Karp with Kobi Karp Architecture and Interior Design. And he really needs no introduction, but Kobi, hi, welcome. It's so nice to have you on the show.
Thank you, Brittnie. It's a pleasure being here today with you and this great team that you have. And she's right, the coffee is delicious.
Absolutely delicious. So, big thank you to Maman. So thank you. So Kobi, like I said, you need no introduction. You are widely recognized as one of Miami's most influential architects. And so I want to know, what made you go down this career path? What made you choose architecture? How did you get started? Like, tell me about your journey.
Well, I had no money, so I had to get a job. But seriously, what happened is that I did not know what the true definition of an architect is and what he or she do on a daily basis. I was working in construction and landscaping because there were, in Minneapolis, Minnesota, which is where I grew up, and the economy was not very good, so there was no work for me in an office, so I took jobs in the field, which led me to desire to work more in the office as I got older, because in Minneapolis it gets a little nippy in the winter.
Just a little nippy.
Just a little bit. It's good for ice fishing, but that's it. So I became more and more understanding of what the field is. I was good in math and in drawing, sketching. And that slowly over the years led me to work inside an office and see what an architect does and can do and appreciate it.
So you said that a lot of people don't know or have an understanding of what an architect does do on a daily basis. You want to walk me through that a little bit or give me an idea of that?
Architecture is a wide field. Many people who went to school with me in School of Architecture in Minneapolis graduated and started selling furniture or light fixtures or metal panels for the outside of the buildings, which, by the way, is a very, very good job with very good cash flow, arguably many times better cash flow than being an architect. And many people told me in the 80s that architecture is not a field where you can sustain yourself on an ongoing basis. And some of them were right. It's not an easy field, but if I was lucky, I was in the right place at the right time in Miami. And so far, knock on wood, it's been good to be an architect in this community.
Absolutely. And one that's, again, like I said, very highly regarded in our community. And you say that you were lucky, but I'm a firm believer that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I think that you were very prepared to take advantage of all of the opportunities that you had. And we're lucky to have you here in our community and see how you've contributed to the landscape and the design that is Miami. But early on in your career, I heard that you worked on projects across the U.S. and throughout the Caribbean. And so was there ever a place that really left a lasting impression on you, especially in terms of the architecture?
So when I came to Miami in 1988, which was what I like to say Miami Vice and Scarface days, because it gives people a perspective of what it was like, there was no financial institutions that would give loans for construction to projects. And all of our projects, I joined a British firm that was working in the Caribbean. Our offices were in the Sterling building at 925 Lincoln Road. And our offices were there, and we would service the Caribbean. We would do all-inclusive resorts and hotels in Grenada, St. Lucia, Turks and Caicos, Bahamas, throughout the Caribbean, Jamaica. And we would do quite a bit of work. We did Club Meds, super clubs, and all of these resorts and hotels in the Caribbean, which was very enlightening to do that in the late 80s, early 90s. The communication was purely thermofax paper. Later on, we got beepers. Later on, we got flip phones. But in the beginning, it was quite simple. But it was very enjoyable. There wasn't one point where I can say I pivoted and then there was a game changer. It was continuous day-by-day sort of growth and understanding of what it is that I like to do and continue to do.
That's really unique. And was there any particular location though that you really, a country or a place that really like stuck with you?
So I studied monasteries and cloisters when I was studying abroad in the University of Minnesota, which was mostly around the Alps. So it was the French Alps, the German Alps, Italian Alps. And that led me, if you will, to appreciate more nature in relationship to the buildings, to the architecture. And more so because monks and monasteries have a certain simplistic quality of life, which less is more in a true sense. And it got me to see things and appreciate things in a completely different way. Where usually people say, oh, I want this, I want gold, and I want curly cues, and I want AC. No, the monastic life and the work day of writing the books and keeping records, drawing maps around the world, that kind of a lifestyle is a very, I think, healthy and mentally, physically, spiritually way of life that gives people a certain sense of balance and tranquility inside, which is very important in design and architecture and planning, both indoor and outdoor. And we, in our offices, try to focus on that.
I love that you brought that up because I know that you're known for balancing sustainability with like cutting edge design. And so why don't you talk to me a little bit more about how you implement those sustainable practices while continuing to meet your clients' expectations and their aesthetics, but also making sure that you're, implementing sustainable practices?
Right. So what happens in my mentality is that the end user, the client, is the most important element. It is not the developer and it's not the idea or the vision only, but it's the end product in a relationship to the individual. The individual makes or breaks the system. It's like Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. I love it. It's been around for quite a while, but people like you make it happen. People like you are the motors and the engines. And at the end of the day, if I can sit in Maman at Sunset Harbor and I am listening because the tables are close to each other, of a couple of people who live at the Grand Venetian, and they're talking how great that building is, and I was involved in that 25 years ago. Or they say, oh, we like Palau, they like the garden side Palau, and I listened to that. I was involved in that. So it gives you a sense of completion, a sense of fulfillment from the people who actually use it on a daily basis. That's the most important thing.
And a sense of legacy too. Absolutely. And you're, like I said, you are part of the landscape and the design that is Miami. And I think that's something to be incredibly proud of.
Thank you.
But that being said, and we talk about legacy, we talk about history, Miami Beach is very much known for, Art Deco, right? And that Art Deco design. And again, you have pushed the boundaries with contemporary projects and contemporary designs. So how do you honor heritage while also sort of like pushing those boundaries?
So for me, history or heritage of the community is a stepping stone. It's the interest part of life, right? It's like, hi, how are you? I'm Brittnie, good. But really what I'm trying to figure out, where are you from? Where were you born? Where'd you go to high school? Right? Who's your mom? Who's your dad? Who's your aunt? Who's your uncle? Who made an effect on you in your life, right? It's like you're asking me these questions now, and I like to get personal with people, and I like to get personal with buildings. So when we do buildings like the Surf Club or the Caribbean Condominium, or now we're doing the Ritz in Miami Beach on Lincoln Road, or the Auberge Shore Club, or the Raleigh, I like to study the history, because from the history, I can create a better design, a better project that relates to the history, and then the next generation is better and stronger. So I do believe to a certain extent that buildings are like people, that you build upon them, and the next generation should be better than the previous generation, as long as all the parts are in the right place, the heart, the lungs, the kidneys. All the parts need to be efficiently in your body and in my body in the right place. Yet, on the outside, we look completely different. That's the architecture. I have two boys, same mother, hopefully the same father. but they're day and night from each other, different from each other. You're laughing, but that's the reality, right? But what happens is that the individual that comes out is different. And that's what makes the world go round. That's what makes it interesting. I'm sure you have brothers or sisters or aunts and uncles, and you can look at them and say, how can they be so different from each other? But that's architecture. So each and every project that we do, being different makes it exciting. Otherwise, it's boring. And so by having the differentiation in the architecture and design, even here domestically, you don't need to go to the Caribbean or Saudi Arabia or Azerbaijan or Tambov, Kaluga in Russia or someplace to have difference. The difference is contextual to the environment, to the community, to the history, but also even in locations like here, being able to do homes for people. Each one is completely different. People do not want to have a copycat of what was previously done at all. They want their own individual, and it gives them a serenity, gives them a peace of mind and a pleasure psychologically and physically in that space.
I absolutely love the philosophy of buildings are like people and the uniqueness that can be found in each individual building. And that's what you strive to create with your team. So I truly, truly love that. And speaking of some of your creations and designs, are there any projects that you can talk about that are on the horizon?
Nope.
Or do you have one that's
No,
really
I can't
fun?
can't talk about anything.
Uh,
No, but seriously, all of our projects are public record, right? The plans we do, we submit them to the building department for construction. The designs that we do, we submit them to planning and zoning and historic preservation board. So they can look at it, they can opine on it, they can comment on it. So everything that we do is in the public realm. And right now, yes, we have a number of projects that are uniquely different from each other that, we're very happy with. We have Fisher Island, 6 residences under construction. We just finished 2 condominium buildings on Alhambra in Fort Lauderdale, over a city parking lot. That's just finishing off construction with a linear park all the way around. We just are doing now in Surfside the next phase of the surf club, which is Surf House for Nadim and Company. We have in West Palm Beach a mixed-use artistic colony destination, which is Northwood, which is a historic artsy destination in what was the black community of West Palm Beach, because they would have the white people live in Palm Beach and then they keep the black people in West Palm Beach, kind of like what we used to do in Miami Beach. Actually, we used to do that also in Surfside. In Surfside, when you read it at the paperwork and the title of Surf Club, it was white, Anglo-Saxon, Protestant men. So if you're Catholic, they don't let you in. So then I looked and I said, well, Irish Catholic, Italian? Nope, all Catholics not allowed. So I didn't even keep going to me being a Jew, no, I can't let you. But it's interesting how life changes, how people's mannerism and behavior changes, right? It's dynamic, it's not static. And it's, as an architect, you see it in the history of the buildings, right? When you study monasteries and cloisters, like we were talking about before, what a Assisi Catholic does versus what a Franciscan Catholic does or a Dominican is different. And then when you come to a place like England and you see what the English church does versus the Irish do, is different. Then you talk to the Irish, but, well, no, we're different than the Italian, Kobi, don't get us confused with the Italian. And that's where people start to be unique and individual. And as an architect, you're a mirror. You are purely a reflection of the community and society at that point in time.
So on that note, talking about being a mirror, I'm really curious to know, what is your favorite architectural building or design, like in the entire world, and maybe not one of your buildings that you've designed, but something that you take inspiration from?
So that's a very good question, because I do love many, many different buildings at different times. And what I mean by that is that, for example, if you go to the Sistine Chapel at certain times when it's empty and walk through the spaces, it feels so peaceful and quiet. When you go to the Louvre, when it's so busy and there's so many people in there trying to see their favorite Egyptian work or the Mona Lisa, then you come across and you are part of the community. I'll give you an example. I just came back from Israel. So I like to go to visit the old historic city because it is not stepping back in time 500 years or 2,000 years as we do in Europe, but it's stepping back in time 5,000 years when the Romans and the Greeks were there and the Persians, and they would have all these great wars. And then you go there at sunrise when the sun comes from the east, because it comes from Saudi Arabia and Abu Dhabi, and it rises up. It's just so tranquil and so peaceful. And you can imagine what it was like for people to live there 5,000 years ago. I'll give you another example. My son loves museums and monuments, as he calls it, and we love to take the red bus, whether it's in Paris, where you sit on top.
Yeah.
He loves D.C. And D.C. is his inspiration of the culture and the history of the United States of America, which he loves. So it's nice to see that, And so buildings talk to people. They talk to me. And for me, buildings at various times are very, very inspiring. And they can be tiki huts. They can be, in the Caribbean, just sleeping under the sky in just something that's made out of planks of wood, right? It just feels good. For me, it feels complete.
I absolutely love that philosophy. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. That was, I think, very personal, but thank you for sharing that. Last couple of questions here, because I think we're going to run out of time.
What's the rush? Come on, take your time.
True. But outside of your work, right, and especially in Miami Beach, we'll focus in on Miami Beach, what is your favorite way to relax and unwind and recharge? Maybe like a hidden spot or like a best kept secret. What would be?
So for me, to unwind really is about being close to water. I love water. I'm a Scorpio. I was born November 1. I like being on the bay. I love being on the beach. It lowers my blood pressure and it slows time. It just pulls the time clock back. And I love that very, very much. And being around water, whether it's on ice fishing in Minnesota, whether it's, whitewater rafting in Alaska, where I used to live. But I think that here in the tropics, because we're blessed to live in Florida, which is one of the subtropical weather climates in the lower 48, whether you're on the beach or you're on the bay, it's just so peaceful and tranquil. And sometimes you're lucky enough, you see a dolphin or two, a manatee or two. And then it just ties you with nature, and it makes you, I think, appreciate the short time that you have here on Earth. And it's good. For me, it's very good.
Absolutely. And I'm an island girl, so I agree
Trainee.
with all
Once
of
a trainee, always a trainee.
Absolutely. And I agree with your sentiment of there is something so incredibly calming and peaceful about being close to water and the ocean.
Yes,
okay, so my last question for you, because I can, with your voice, I can talk to you for hours.
I can come back another time. I can come back another time.
We're gonna have to make that happen. But our last question for today is, if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self when you were just starting out in your career, what piece of advice would you give?
I think the only piece of advice, which is what I use quite a bit now, more so than ever before, I use it more in the past 15, 20 years, is that, you were born with 2 eyes to see. So take your time and watch. 2 ears to listen. So clean them out. Hear well. Give you nostrils to breathe. 1 mouth so you can eat, drink, breathe, and seldom talk. The more you listen and you observe around you, the healthier, the wealthier, the smarter you will be in life. Because then you can be a better tool, a better human to help at, it can be anything. It can be changing the oil on a car, and it can be, drawing blood, and it can be something that you give inspiration to the next generation, or you can listen to an older generation. I think that being part of the natural environment that we live and the human interaction, the more we listen, the more we watch, the more we hear, and the less we talk, the better off we as individuals, as a community, we become. And I think part of success for me as an architect was being to do that more and more with time as I got older.
And I could not think of a better way to close out our show with that beautiful, beautiful sentiment. Listen and observe more, speak less. Thank you so much, Kobi, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
This was another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for another episode next week.